Joshua stood near the city of Jericho, staring at the massive walls in front of him. They were tall, thick, and intimidating. To most people, they looked impossible to overcome. And honestly, Joshua probably felt the weight of that reality. The people of Israel had finally arrived in the Promised Land after years of wandering in the wilderness. But now, their first major obstacle stood directly in their path. Jericho, a heavily fortified city prepared for war. A city that seemed impossible to defeat. Joshua was now the leader of Israel after Moses. The responsibility on his shoulders was enormous. Thousands of people were looking to him for guidance. They expected answers. They expected victory. But standing there near those walls, Joshua didn't yet know how God would give it. Maybe you felt that way before. You know God has called you forward, but the obstacle in front of you seems bigger than your ability. You pray, you think, you plan, but you still don't see a way through. That was the moment Joshua found himself in. Then something unexpected happened. As he looked up, he saw a man standing in front of him. The stranger wasn't running or hiding. He stood there confidently, holding a drawn sword in his hand. Joshua immediately became alert. This was a dangerous situation. Was this man a friend or an enemy? Joshua walked toward him and asked a direct question. Are you for us or for our enemies? It was the kind of question most of us would ask. Which side are you on? Whose team do you belong to? But the answer Joshua received was completely unexpected. Neither, the man replied. Joshua wasn't expecting that answer. Then the stranger continued, But as commander of the Lord's army, I have now come. Suddenly, everything changed. Joshua realized he wasn't standing before an ordinary warrior. This was a divine messenger from God. Some believe this was even a special appearance of Christ before his birth. Whatever the case, Joshua immediately understood that he was standing in the presence of someone sent directly by God. The sword wasn't drawn against Joshua, and it wasn't drawn for Joshua. It represented God's authority, God's power, and God's leadership. In that moment, Joshua learned something important. The real question wasn't whether God was on Joshua's side. The real question was whether Joshua was on God's side. Sometimes we pray and ask God to support our plans. We ask Him to bless our ideas. We ask Him to fight our battles our way. But God often calls us to something greater. Instead of joining our agenda, He invites us to join His. Joshua understood this immediately. Filled with awe and reverence, he fell face down to the ground and worshipped. Then he asked a simple but powerful question. What message does my Lord have for His servant? Notice the change. Joshua began by asking, Whose side are you on? Now he asks, What do you want me to do? That is the posture of a servant who trusts God. When we stop trying to control everything and start listening to God, our perspective begins to change. The commander then spoke again. Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy. The words sounded familiar. Many years earlier, God had spoken similar words to Moses at the burning bush. Now Joshua was experiencing his own holy moment, a moment where heaven touched earth, a moment where God reminded him that His presence was with him. Joshua immediately obeyed. No arguments, no hesitation, no questions. He removed his sandals because he recognized that he was standing on holy ground, and that moment prepared him for everything that would come next. The Battle of Jericho would not be won through military strength. It would not be won through clever strategies. It would not be won because Israel had superior weapons. The victory would come because God Himself would fight for His people. The walls of Jericho looked impossible, but God's power was greater than every wall. Joshua needed to remember that before the battle even began. The greatest victory that day wasn't the fall of Jericho's walls. It was the surrender of Joshua's heart. Before God changed the situation around him, He strengthened the faith within him. And that's often how God works in our lives. We want God to remove the obstacle immediately. We want the breakthrough, the miracle, the answer. But sometimes God first teaches us to trust His presence, His timing, and His power. Because when we truly know that God is with us, Even the biggest walls no longer look impossible. Joshua walked away from that encounter knowing one thing with certainty. The battle ahead did not belong to him. It belonged to the Lord. And because God was leading the fight, victory was already possible. The same truth remains today. Whatever wall stands in front of you, whatever challenge seems impossible, remember this: you do not have to face it alone. The God who stood with Joshua still stands with his people, and when God is present, even the most impossible walls can fall.